Alright guys, I apologize for the 3D printer going in the background. Hopefully it's not too loud in the recording. Alright, we started section drawing 14, but I wanted to start from scratch. So if you were a little bit behind, we can get you caught up with everyone else. So I open up my blank one. I should have my section layer already there, and if I go, I have my arrow set up as a block. I'm going to go to model space. Alright, I'm going to start by doing the normal views. So I'm going to start with my top, just because of the layout of it, it'll be a little bit easier. So I did 3 inches for my length here, and then at the midpoint I'm going to have a 2-inch diameter circle. Then I'm going to have a 1.125 or 1 1/8 circle. Then the inside circle is going to be 3/4 of an inch or 0.75. Outside, at the end of the center lines, the small circle is going to be 1/2 inch. The outside one on the paper is labeled with radius, so I'm going to do it with radius. Alright, and it says it is 9/16. One side is the same as the other, so I'm just going to mirror it over. Alright, I want to come down here and make sure I have tangent turned on and quadrant. Alright, so I have the beginning of my top. I need to make the angled connections here. I'm going to start at the top quadrant. I'm going to go till I'm tangent to that circle. And I'm going to come back to tangent of the circle. Alright, if I zoom in, there will be 2 lines there. The inside one I can delete. I can do the same steps going all the way around. Save a little bit of time. I'm going to use mirror it down, and mirror it to the other side. And I can use trim, and that bigger outside circle I can trim except for the outside edges of it. Alright, so that's the beginning of my top. I'm gonna extend out my center line so it goes all the way out, and I'll add a vertical one in here through each one of the circles. Okay, if your line doesn't show up as being dashed, make it a little bit longer and it will show up as dash for you. Alright, so I have beginning of my top. The top isn't completely done yet. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Now I can bring down one side and lining up, bring down the other side to get my overall width. The thickness of this base here is 3/8. So I'm going to go 3/8 up, down. I'm going to bring the edge of the 2-inch circle up, and that is going to go 1 1/8 up, so 1.125. Two inches down, and then alright, for all of this internal stuff, alright, these are holes. This hole goes the whole way through, this goes the whole way through. This hole goes down a certain distance, and then the smaller one goes the rest of the way through. So if this was a normal, regular multi-view, all that stuff is going to be hidden. So I would bring one side down, the other side, bring the bigger of the two down. The depth of the bigger one goes 1/4 inch. You can bring the other side down, and then the smaller one will go the rest of the way down. I'm going to mirror to save myself some time over here, but this line should line up with that side of the circle, and same with the other side. Alright, so normal front view, that's what it would look like. Like I said, we still have one more thing to add in here. I'm going to do my right side view like normal. Over, my width would be 2. Height would be the same, 3/8. One and 1/8, or 1.125, which lines up with that. And then I'm going to cheat the system a little bit. These hidden lines, I'm going to use copy, grab it by the midpoint of the top, place it on the midpoint of the top, and then these hidden lines for these holes, they'll be lined up, so I only need one set. I'm going to do copy. If I bring down where the center of it would be, grab it there, center of it there, and I would have it there. And I'll throw in a vertical center line. Alright, the only thing I need to add is there's a hole that's drilled in the side. It's a 1/4 inch diameter hole, and it's a 1/2 inch down. So if I do offset 1/2 inch, offset this down, and I'll change that to center. And then go back to my object, diameter, where they intersect. Again, it is 0.25 diameter. Alright, and actually, I have it flipped. If I do it the way it's facing on the drawing, this circle would actually be hidden. Alright, and then I can bring hidden lines over top of this circle, start here, go the rest of the way over. Same on the bottom. And then up here, if I do, I can either bring this, copy this up, or if I do offset, if it's 1/4, I'll do offset of 1/8. Center line up, center line down. Those two be hidden. And then I can trim. Just trim the parts here. I can delete the rest. Save me some clicking. Delete. And delete. So the hidden lines will only go through this left section, because I have them on the left section here, and I can't see that hole because it's on the far back side. Alright, so if I was doing a regular multi-view drawing, I'd add in my dimensions, and this would be done. What section views do, basically you're gonna temporarily remove a portion of the object to see the internal details. So first thing I need to decide or show is where I'm going to cut it and which direction I'm going to cut it. So this center line I just extended out past the edges a little bit, and I'm going to change that to my section layer. Alright, so right now I'm telling you, or you're telling whoever's looking at your drawing here, that I'm going to cut this object here. I'm going to show the section view in my front. What I'm going to bring in is my arrow. Alright, the arrow is going to point the direction that you are looking. Alright, so if, and I don't want the arrow that big, so I'm going to use scale. And place it, and then I'll just copy it to the other side. So this arrow is showing me that in my front view, alright, I'm going to remove this side of it, and I'm going to be looking in at the internals here. So to how my front view would change now, this line would get trimmed because it would stop right here, because that's where it's going to be and where it's going to stop. Any of the hidden lines that are being cut through to be shown, so pretty much everything is being cut through at the same level here, those will all get changed to object. Alright. In section views, if there are other hidden lines further back, so like this curve here, I could have a hidden line showing on the far side, the back side. In section views, you're only worrying about the surface where it's cutting through. So don't worry about hidden lines on the far away side. All right. Now, if I was just looking at this view, this one's a relatively simple one, so it's not too bad. But I want to show where there's empty space and where it's solid and being cut through. So to show that, I'm going to go back to my section here. I'm going to use hatching, which you use to make the arrow. And I'm going to, there's a whole bunch of different patterns and styles. There are specific ones for like concrete. There's brick, brass, all kinds of different ones. For this first one, I'm just going to do ANSI 32. So if I select my pattern, anywhere it's solid and being cut through, I'm going to click to add in the hatching. Once I get all my areas selected, I can close. So again, this in the middle is a hole, it's empty space. So it's empty space in here. I'm cutting through, I can see this hole drilled through the side, so that's empty space. Right here is hole drilled through, empty space. Any of the other parts where it's solid and being cut through, you'll add in hatching. And that tells me that it's a solid object and you're physically or in the image slicing through it to show the internal details. Alright, from here, my drawing's all done. I can just come in and add in my dimensions. I have my overall width. Do my other linear ones. I have my 3/8. Got my height there. Distance down. My diameter. Diameter there. Diameter here. Diameter here. And there. And then I'll do radius for this partial circle. And I forgot one linear one, which would be the depth of that bigger hole. That only goes down 1/4 of an inch. Alright, from there, alright, this one's all done. I can switch her over to the layout, zoom extents, and then I'm good and ready to print it out. So hopefully this helps out. If you run into any major problems, just make a note of it, and I'll help you on the next day when I'm here. Alright, have a good rest of your day.